My grandma left me $42,000 to start my life, but my boyfriend thought the money was his too. When I told him it was gone, I watched his mask slip in a way I never saw coming. Can you imagine receiving a surprise inheritance, only for it to reveal the horrifying greed of the person you thought loved you most? Because that's exactly what happened to me, and it shattered my world in a way I never saw coming. I still remember the tremor in my hands as I stared at the bank statement. $42,000. My vision blurred, the numbers swimming, and for a wild second, I wondered if grief had finally broken me. But no, the statement stayed steady, the numbers mocking me as grandma. Evelyn's handwritten letter fluttered to the floor. A single tear tracked the evening sunlight, streaming through my apartment window. Behind me, her antique clock ticked away, each beat as familiar as her voice. I bent down, my fingers tracing the words I'd already committed to memory. Use this to build something for yourself, and don't let anyone take it from you. The paper still carried the faint scent of her house, lemon polish, and fresh coffee. My throat tightened. Memories flooded back. Grandma Evelyn at her kitchen table, a pencil in hand, meticulously balancing her checkbook. "Your grandfather died young, Monica," she'd say, her voice steady but her eyes distant. "I raised 3 children on a bookkeeper's salary, but I did it without owing anyone a dime." My gaze drifted to the glass jar on my bookshelf, still holding the pennies we collected during my childhood visits. She'd turn it into a game, hunting for dropped coins, checking payphone slots, saving every copper piece from my allowance. Money isn't about wealth, she'd tell me. It's about freedom. Freedom. I tasted the word, looking around my modest 1-bedroom apartment. My part-time job at the community center barely covered bills while I finished grad school. My old Honda needed repairs. Student loans loomed large. But now, my hand shook as I opened my journal carefully, folding Grandma's letter between its pages. A list of practical uses for the money flowed from my pen. Finish my degree, fix the car, start an emergency fund. Smart choices. Safe choices. Grandma. Evelyn choices. Then, the key turned in the lock. Derek burst in, takeout bags filling the apartment with the smell of garlic and soy sauce. "Sorry I'm late, babe." The coffee shop was slammed. He set the food down and then, finally, he noticed my red eyes. "Hey, what's wrong?" "I got a letter from the estate lawyer." I swallowed hard. "Grandma left me some money." "That's amazing." His arms wrapped around me, warm and familiar. "How much?" $42,000. His body stiffened, just for a fraction of a second. Most people wouldn't have noticed, but 3 years together had taught me his tells. He pulled back, his expression shifting so subtly I almost missed it, a quick, calculating gleam in his eyes, a slight lift of his chin. "Babe, this changes everything for us." His voice held an unfamiliar edge of excitement. "We could finally." A knock at the door interrupted him. Mrs. Henderson from next door, probably looking for her cat again. But for once, I was grateful for the interruption. Something in Derek's tone had set off a warning bell deep in my gut. I pushed it away. The next week was a blur of classes and work. Then Derek showed up at my door on Tuesday afternoon when he should have been starting his shift. "I quit my job," he announced, grinning, as he flopped onto my couch. "Now we can finally focus on us, without stressing about bills." The words hit me like ice water. "What do you mean we?" "Come on, Monica." He sat up, his tone sharpening. "The inheritance. It's perfect timing. We can use it to really build something together." "This is my inheritance," I said, the words coming out smaller than I intended. "From my grandmother." "After 3 years together, you're still thinking like you're single?" His voice rose, unfamiliar and ugly. "Real couples share everything. Or is that not what we are?" I stood frozen in my living room, really seeing him for the first time. The charming barista, with big dreams, had vanished, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. Someone who'd been there all along, just waiting for his moment. That night, after Derek stormed out, I sat cross-legged on my bed, surrounded by old photographs. Grandma Evelyn smiled up at me from a faded Polaroid, her eyes sharp and knowing. I remembered her words from my college graduation. Pay attention to how people act when they think. They have power over you. That's when they show you who they really are. My phone buzzed with a text from Derek. I'm sorry if I came on too strong. You know I only want what's best for us. But you're being selfish right now. The words blurred on the screen as another memory surfaced. Grandma Evelyn teaching me to play poker, her face serious as she dealt the cards. Sometimes, honey, the best way to see someone's true character is to give them exactly what they want and watch what they do with it. I set the phone down, my mind already forming a plan. The next test would hurt, but it would show me everything I needed to know. I rehearsed the words quietly in the darkness of my bedroom. My voice barely a whisper. Derek, I need to tell you something about the money. Behind me, Grandma's clock chimed 10 times, each note as clear as a warning bell. The next morning, my phone rested on the coffee table, its screen glowing with the recording app's interface. In the kitchen, water dripped steadily from the faucet, a rhythm that matched my racing pulse. My fingers hovered over state recording laws on my laptop screen while Denise perched on my old armchair, picking at a loose thread on the cushion. Monica, her voice carried the weight of 20 years of friendship. Are you sure you want to know? The late afternoon sun slanted through my windows, casting long shadows across the hardwood floor. Grandma's clock ticked away the minutes until Derek arrived. I need to see who he really is, the words came out stronger than I felt. Before, my throat closed around the rest of the sentence. Denise nodded, understanding what I couldn't say. Before the money changed everything. Before I let someone else make decisions about my future. Before I dishonored what Grandma Evelyn trusted me to protect. I'll be at Anthony's coffee shop down the street. She squeezed my shoulder. Call if you need me. The door clicked shut behind her. I checked the phone's position one last time, angling it just right to catch every word. 3 practice runs had taught me exactly where to stand, how to move, what to say. My stomach knotted as I rehearsed the story again. A key scraped in the lock. Derek strode in wearing his favorite leather jacket, the one he bought after quitting his job. His smile faltered when he saw my face. Babe? What's wrong? I wrapped my arms around my middle, shoulders curving inward. I need to tell you something. He dropped onto the couch, man spreading across the cushions. You look terrible. Did something happen? The script I'd practiced blurred in my mind. I sank into the armchair across from him, gripping the worn fabric. I made a terrible investment. His eyebrows shot up. What? The money. My voice cracked. It's gone. All of it. Silence filled the room like smoke. Derek's face cycled through expressions: disbelief, confusion, then dawning comprehension. His jaw tightened. What do you mean gone? Each word dropped like a stone. I trusted someone I shouldn't have. The lie tasted bitter. They promised huge returns. How much? His knuckles whitened against his thighs. Everything. I studied the floor. The whole inheritance. The silence stretched. When I looked up, disgust twisted his features into something ugly and familiar. A mask had dropped, revealing what lived beneath all along. So you're broke. His laugh held no humor. Great. Don't expect me to carry this relationship. My heart pounded against my ribs, but I kept my voice steady. What do you mean? He stood, pacing like a caged animal. You're just a part-time nonprofit worker with student loans. I stayed because I thought we had a future. Now what? I'm supposed to support you. I never asked you to. I already told Mike and Jason about our windfall. His voice rose. We had plans. But you couldn't even manage basic investing without screwing it up. Each word landed like a slap, but I held still, letting the phone capture everything. You're not wife material. He spat the words. You're selfish and irresponsible. I wasted 3 years on someone who can't even. Please leave. My voice came out quiet but firm. He blinked, thrown off script. What? Get out. I stood, pointing to the door. Now. The slam reverberated through my bones. I counted to 60, making sure he was gone before. Retrieving my phone. My hands shook as I stopped the recording. The playback caught everything I missed in the moment, the calculated pauses, the twisted logic, the casual cruelty. An hour later, my screen lit up with texts. Jason, how could you blow all that money? Mike. Derek told us everything. Real classy. Sarah. Rain check on Saturday. Not feeling well. 3 years of friendships dissolved in minutes. The betrayal spread like ink in water, staining everything it touched. My phone buzzed again. Denise. I saw him furious from the coffee shop. You. Okay. No, the truth came easier now. But I will be. That night, I sat cross-legged on my bed, surrounded by the evidence of my life before Derek. Old photos. Birthday cards. The penny jar from my childhood. Grandma's letter rested in my lap. Her words sharp and clear, don't let anyone take it from you. The hardware store receipt on my nightstand showed my first act of reclamation, new locks for every door. My social media accounts. Displayed cheerful, taking a break, messages. Derek's number joined 24 others on my blocked list. The clock struck midnight. Each chime rang like a verdict. Like freedom. Like proof that sometimes losing everything means finding what matters most. I smoothed Grandma's letter and whispered into the darkness, nobody's taking anything from me again. Now a month has passed. The bank statement sits untouched on my kitchen counter, the numbers still holding steady at $42,000. Morning sunlight bathes my simplified apartment in amber warmth. The spaces Derek once dominated now breathe with fresh purpose. His favorite armchair replaced by my reading nook, his cluttered desk transformed into an organized study station. Grandma Evelyn's clock chimes 7 from its new place of honor above my fireplace. Time feels different now. Each tick marks progress rather than loss. My morning ritual begins. Coffee brewing, schedule review, gratitude journal. Simple actions that ground me in who I am, rather than who Derek wanted me to be. The therapy sessions, Denise's gentle suggestion that turned into a lifeline, taught me to recognize these small victories. My phone buzzed. Speaking of Denise. Ready for the presentation? Her voice carried more excitement than my own. Professor Grantham wants my take on financial literacy in underserved communities. The words still felt strange. When did I become an expert? Since you lived it, a pause. And survived it. 2 hours later, the campus buzzed with early summer energy as I hurried to class, my presentation notes secure in Grandma's vintage briefcase. Professor Grantham caught my eye as I settled into my usual seat, her slight nod carrying approval I was finally learning to accept. Community empowerment requires understanding systemic barriers, a classmate droned on about. Statistics and demographics. My hand rose before I could stop it. Numbers matter, I heard myself say, but so do stories. Behind every statistic stands a person whose choices were limited by what they never learned about money. The words flowed with unexpected authority. Financial literacy isn't just about budgets, it's about dignity. Professor Grantham leaned forward. Expand on that, Monica. By the time class ended, 3 pages of notes covered my journal. Professor Grantham waved me over as others filed out. You've found your voice. She shuffled through the semesters. Assignments. Your insights about financial trauma, they're not just academic theories for you. Are they? No, my fingers traced the worn leather of Grandma's briefcase. They're the reason I'm here. Stay after class tomorrow. I'd like to discuss your ideas further. 2 hours later, the women's shelter sat quiet when I arrived for my weekend shift. A new face caught my attention, silver hair, straight spine, eyes that had seen too much. The intake form said Patricia, age 63. 43 years of marriage, she whispered as I poured her tea. I thought I knew how to handle money before I met him. Then suddenly I didn't know anything anymore. He made sure of that. My throat tightened. My grandmother taught me that financial independence isn't just about money. Smart woman. Patricia's hands shook slightly. What else did she teach you? For the next hour, we talked about bank accounts and boundaries, about the slow erosion of confidence and the even slower work of rebuilding it. Other women drifted over, adding their stories to the growing circle. If I'd known then what I know now, one said. We could teach each other, another added. The idea struck like lightning. That night, I filled page after page in my journal, the words spilling out faster than I could write them. Financial literacy workshops, but not just about budgets and bank accounts. Something deeper. Something about worth. Denise arrived for our weekly coffee with a stack of therapy intake forms. The therapist said, "You're doing better than expected, because I'm turning it into something useful." I slid my journal across the table. Read this. Her eyes widened as she flipped through the pages. The Evelyn Project? Financial literacy workshops for women in transition. Using my inheritance as seed money. The plan tumbled out curriculum ideas, community partnerships, measurement metrics. This is it. Denise closed the journal carefully. This is what the money was for. Building something for myself, I quoted Grandma's letter. Something no one can take away. And something that helps others keep what's theirs. Denise squeezed my hand. When do we start? Over the next few weeks, the vision took shape. Professor Grantham connected me with nonprofit leaders. The shelter director offered space for pilot workshops. My supervisor at the community center recognized the potential and adjusted my schedule to accommodate planning time. Each small step felt like restoration. The inheritance transformed from a number in my account to a foundation for change. Grandma's practical wisdom merged with my hard-won insights, creating something neither of us could have built alone. The project logo, a simple phoenix rising from an open book, took shape under Denise's artistic direction. Perfect for a financial resurrection. She joked, but the symbolism felt right. One evening, as sunset painted my apartment in shades of possibility, I stood before Grandma's clock. Its steady ticking accompanied my voice as I practiced introducing the Evelyn Project to the world. Financial independence isn't just about money, I told my reflection. It's about knowing your worth can't be calculated in dollars. It's about building something larger than yourself. The clock chimed, and I swore I heard Grandma's voice in its clear, strong notes. Build something for yourself and don't let anyone take it away. I touched the worn glass face of the clock, smiling at the memory of her teaching me to read its hands. I will, Grandma. But I'm building it for all of us. 2 months later, the whiteboard took over my living room wall like kazoo, sprawling with workshop outlines and community connections drawn in 4 different colors. Denise stood back, marker poised at her chin, studying our master plan. My inheritance had found its purpose in neat rows of numbers along the bottom edge: seed money for supplies, venue deposits, marketing, materials. Your financial expertise plus my marketing background? Denise grinned. We're dangerous together. A knock at the door brought lunch and our first test group. 5 women from the shelter filed in, carrying the weight of their stories in hunched shoulders and darting eyes. One clutched her purse like a shield. Welcome to the Evelyn Project Pilot Workshop. My voice carried the strength of my grandmother's memory. Please grab a sandwich and make yourselves comfortable. 2 hours later, the energy had shifted. Susan, a former accountant who lost everything to an emotionally abusive husband, showed another participant how to build a basic budget on her phone. Maria shared her system for hiding money in plain sight, a trick that let her escape with enough cash for first month's rent. The room hummed with connection and quiet power. Ladies, this has been incredible. I checked my watch, surprised to find we'd run over. Next week we'll tackle Monica. Denise interrupted, phone in hand. Her expression stopped me cold. We need to talk. In my kitchen, she showed me the local business Facebook group. Derek's post glowed with calculated concern, warning to local entrepreneurs, watch out for questionable financial Workshops targeting vulnerable women. Some people will do anything for money, even exploit. Trauma. Be careful who you trust with your community's well-being. The words swam before my eyes. 3 years of shared history, distilled into digital venom. I can't. My throat closed. How? Can he? Stop. Denise's hand covered mine. This is exactly what he wants. To make you doubt yourself. The clock chimed 4 times, each note striking clarity through my panic. I heard Grandma Evelyn's voice. The best revenge is building something they can't touch. You're right. I straightened my spine. We're not stopping. The next day after class, Professor Grantham's office hours provided the next strategic piece. She listened, gray hair caught in afternoon sunlight, then opened her leather planner. The community center board meets Thursday. I sit on it. She wrote as she spoke. Your program model is exactly what we've been looking for. Official partnership would give you instant credibility and protection from individual accusations, I realized. Precisely. She looked up. The local paper's new features editor, she's been asking about women's economic empowerment stories. Interested? Yes. The answer came without hesitation. 3 weeks blurred past. The community center's program director offered workshop space at no cost. A retired tax attorney volunteered to guest speak. My therapist suggested adding a self-worth component that resonated deeply with our pilot group. You're building an ecosystem, Professor Grantham said when I showed her the grant application. This could go national. Tonight, I stand in my apartment, transformed from a space of betrayal into mission control. The inheritance statement sits in my desk drawer, now bearing withdrawal notations for education and startup costs. Each dollar invested in something larger than myself. My phone buzzes. The reporter's text confirms tomorrow's interview. Behind me, the clock strikes 10, and I smile at my grandmother's photograph beside her framed letter. Yes, I answer the reporter. We're ready. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. The words settled into my bones with the weight of truth. Derek tried to take my reputation, my confidence, my right to grow. Instead, he gave me the final push toward my purpose. My fingers traced the familiar glass ridges of the penny jar, now our workshop. Demonstration piece. The copper coins caught lamplight like medals of honor, each one a lesson in dignity preserved. Watch me, Grandma, I whisper to the quiet room. I'm building something they can't take away. On the presentation day, the community center auditorium gleamed under fresh fluorescent lights. My fingers smoothed the program packets one final time as women filtered in, their winter coats draped over arms, their faces bright with anticipation. 45 chairs curved in a welcoming semicircle, already half-filled. The local newspaper reporter huddled with Denise in the corner, their heads bent over a notepad. Behind the podium, my grandmother's brooch caught the light. 3 small pearls surrounding a sapphire, worn on her collar every Sunday for 40 years. Now it anchored my blazer, its weight familiar against my collarbone. 5 minutes. Denise whispered, squeezing my shoulder as she passed. Above the exit sign, the wall clock inched toward 10. Different from Grandma Evelyn's mantle clock, but just as relentless in marking moments we can't reclaim. I scanned the room, taking in the faces. A silver-haired woman in the front row clutched her purse like a shield. 2 seats over, a young mother bounced a baby while scribbling notes. Behind them, decades of stories written in worry lines and sharp eyes and shoulders squared against invisible weights. The clock struck 10. My heels clicked against hardwood as I approached the podium. The room fell silent, all those eyes turning toward me. I thought of Grandma Evelyn, of her quiet strength, as she balanced checkbooks and paid bills and built a future from nothing but determination. Welcome to the Evelyn Project. My voice carried clear and strong, just as I practiced. Financial independence isn't just about money. It's about freedom. The words unlocked something in the room. Heads nodded. A few women dabbed at their eyes. The silver-haired woman's grip on her purse loosened just slightly. 3 months ago, I inherited $42,000 from my grandmother. I paused, letting the number settle. But that's not the most valuable thing she left me. She gave me something worth far more, the wisdom to recognize when someone values what you have more than who you are. The back door creaked. My heart stuttered as Derek slipped inside, his barista apron still tied around his waist. He took a seat in the last row, his familiar half-smile nowhere in sight. For a moment, I was back in my apartment, his voice sharp with accusations. You're not wife material. You're selfish and irresponsible. But this wasn't my apartment, and I wasn't that woman anymore. Money doesn't create character, I continued, my voice growing stronger. It reveals it. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. A woman in the third row wiped her eyes. 2 others exchanged knowing looks. Derek shifted in his chair, his jaw tight. Today, we're going to talk about financial boundaries. I moved from behind the podium, claiming the space. They're not walls to keep people out. They're foundations to build something that can never be taken from you. The next hour flowed like water. We discussed red flags in financial relationships. Warning. Signs I'd ignored with Derek now served as lesson points. The women shared their own stories. Marriages where money became control, children who drained retirement accounts, friends who turned manipulation into an art form. Take out the worksheet titled Core Values, I said, watching Derek's face as women rustled through their packets. Circle the 3 that matter most to you. Not what someone else says should matter. What matters to you? The room fell quiet, except for pencils scratching paper. Derek's leg bounced, a nervous tell I once found endearing. Now it just reminded me of all the times he couldn't sit still long enough to build anything real. Some people chase money, I said into the silence. Others chase meaning. One fades fast. The other lasts. Heads lifted. Eyes met mine, bright with recognition. Even the baby had fallen. Silent, sensing the weight of the moment. Your worth isn't measured by who loves you, I continued, echoing Grandma Evelyn's words. It's measured by how you love yourself, your dreams, your future. The standing ovation caught me off guard. It started with the silver-haired woman, her hands shaking but determined. Others joined until the sound filled the room, drowning out the hum of fluorescent lights and the ticking of the clock. Women lined up to speak with me, sharing their stories in hurried whispers. The reporter waited patiently, her notebook filled with cramped writing. Through it all, I felt Derek's presence like a shadow at the edges of my awareness. When he finally stood to leave, my eyes met his across the crowd. His shoulders slumped, the swagger gone. For a moment, he looked lost, a man who thought he was owed something, discovering too late that worth must be earned. I gave him a single nod, neither forgiveness nor condemnation. Just acknowledgement of a lesson learned, a price paid, a freedom earned. The door closed behind him with a soft click, almost lost in the buzz of conversation. But I heard it. The sound of a chapter ending of a new one beginning. Denise appeared at my elbow, her smile fierce with pride. Ready for the interview? I touched Grandma Evelyn's brooch, feeling its steady presence. Yes, I said. I have something to build. The bank statement on my new mahogany desk shows a balance of $412. I run my fingers over the paper, remembering another statement a year ago that changed everything. Behind me, Grandma Evelyn's clock chimes 3 times, its familiar tone filling my downtown office. A soft knock draws my attention. Come in. Denise appears in the doorway, holding up her tablet. The final numbers from last month's workshops just came in. Wanna guess how many women we reached? I shook my head, smiling. Tell me. 273. Her grin matched mine. Across all 3 centers. And that's not counting the waiting lists. The morning sunlight streams through my office window, catching the gold lettering on the door, the Evelyn Project. Below it, in smaller text, financial independence through education. Did you ever think, Denise asked, settling into the chair across from me, that $42,000 could touch so many lives? The money was just the seed. I touched the vintage brooch at my collar, the one Grandma wore to every important meeting. The real inheritance was knowing what to do with it. My phone buzzed with a text from the community center director. Another city wants our workshop model. I added it to the growing list of expansion possibilities, right below the notes for tomorrow's special session. Ready for the 60-plus workshop? Denise asked, reading my mind as usual. Margaret said she's bringing her whole bridge club. Almost. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out the stack of participant journals, each one containing the same message on the first page: build something for yourself that no one can take away. The afternoon passed in a blur of preparation. At 5, most of the building emptied, but I stayed, surrounded by thank you letters from past participants. Each one told a story of transformation. Sarah, who started her own alterations business. Patricia, back in school at 58. Jennifer, who finally left her controlling husband of 30 years. Their words filled the quiet office with invisible triumph. My fingers found Grandma's letter in my journal, the paper soft from countless readings. The words haven't changed, but their meaning grows deeper with each passing month. I remembered her at her kitchen table, pencil flying across her ledger. Books, showing me how every penny mattered. The world runs on dollars and cents, she'd say. But a woman's worth? That's measured in stronger currency. A text from Professor Grantham lit up my phone. Brilliant job at the regional conference last week. The standing ovation was well-deserved. I closed my eyes, remembering the sea of faces as I shared our story. Not just mine, but all of ours, every woman who ever had to choose between dignity and security. Every grandmother who scraped and saved to give her children better. Every daughter learning to stand her ground. The setting sun painted my office walls amber. On them hung 3 things: my newly framed master's degree in public administration, the local newspaper article about our program's success, and a black and white photo of Grandma Evelyn on her first day as head bookkeeper, standing straight-backed and proud. My laptop chimed with a final email, confirmation of next month's scholarship program for women returning to education. 5 full rides, funded by our new foundation grant. I thought of the glass jar where Grandma and I once collected pennies, and how she turned each coin into a lesson about compound interest and compound wisdom. Moving to the window, I watched the city lights blink on one by one. A year ago, I stood in my apartment wondering if I'd lost everything. Tonight, I stand in an office that bears my grandmother's name, knowing I found something far more precious than money. The clock chimed again, a gentle reminder that it's time to head home. I gathered my things, straightening the stack of brochures for tomorrow's workshop. The front page showed our tagline, written in elegant script: your worth isn't measured by your wallet. At the door, I paused. The office glowed softly in the evening light, Grandma's clock keeping steady time on the wall. In the quiet, I could almost hear her voice. Some people chase money their whole lives, Monica. The smart ones? They build something that money can't buy. I smiled, touching the light switch. We did it, Grandma. We built something they can't take away. The clock ticked steadily in the darkness as I locked up, its rhythm as familiar as my own heartbeat. Tomorrow, another group of women will walk through these doors, carrying their own stories of loss and hope. They'll leave with something more valuable than dollars, the knowledge that their worth isn't found in a bank statement, but in the unshakable dignity of standing on their own ground. In my car, I checked my final appointment for the day, dinner with James, my boyfriend of 3 months. A man who arrived in my life after I'd already built my own foundation, who looks at what I've created with admiration instead of calculation. The kind of partner Grandma would have approved of, someone who adds to your life without trying to subtract from your soul. But that's just a bonus chapter in a story that was always about something bigger. About the quiet power of one generation lifting another. about turning an inheritance of wisdom into a legacy of light. The city stretched out before me as I drove home, countless windows glowing in the dusk. Behind each one, a story waiting to be rewritten. Tomorrow, we'll start another chapter, one woman at a time. Grandma was right. The truest wealth isn't counted in dollars. It's measured in lives transformed, in dignity restored, in strength passed down like a treasured family recipe. Growing richer with each generation that adds its own wisdom to the mix. I touched the brochure, my collar one last time, feeling the weight of all it represents. Not just memory, but mission. Not just inheritance, but imperative. We build something for ourselves. And then we build it for each other. That's a fortune that keeps growing long after the bank statements fade.